Welcome to Random Product Critic, a channel about critiquing anything that can be bought.
In this video, we're looking at the gaming mouse, the Razer Taipan. This mouse is one of the very few ambidextrous gaming mice out there with programmable buttons. And overall, it's just, pretty good gaming mouse. It comes from Razer. If you haven't heard of Razer before, they are a company that focuses solely on gaming peripherals. So they have a couple laptops, but mostly their focus is, mouse, pads, mice, keyboards, and a few other things like headsets and whatnot. So they focus on gaming devices, and they do really well at them. So the Razer Taipan, the reason why I kind of was looking for this, I spent a lot of time looking for a good mouse, mostly for work, but also for 3D modeling and some gaming as well. And for me, it's really hard because I am a left-handed user, but there are very, very few good gaming mice out there that cater to left-handed people. So in the end, I decided to just get an ambidextrous mouse, and so far it's been working pretty well. So the Razer Taipan, it is your ambidextrous mouse, and it follows just the kind of the basic Razer outline, all black. It has the green LEDs that kind of look a little bit blue here, but they're a very bright green. They do follow kind of just a stealthy look. Have your extra trim in here that just makes it look more stealthy, I guess. And then overall the build quality is pretty good. So you've got basic plastic here. It's kind of that grippy plastic that's not rubbery, but it still gives some grip. On the sides you do have rubber, and this does have quite a bit of grip, as you can see. And then on the bottom you have just your basic plastic with three pads here. These slide really well. They're better than any of the generic mice I've used. So that's kind of the build quality, and then your cable is just a standard threaded or braided cable, and it's fairly thick. It's not unbearably thick though, unlike their keyboards. So it does have some play in it, and it also is a little bit sturdy, so it's not going to have any problems like a cheap cord's going to have. So if we look at the design of this mouse, it is the kind of the palm type of shape. So you can see when you've got your hand resting, it's going to be touching pretty much every part of the palm and your fingers. There are different types of mice for other types of users depending on what your preference is. Like there's the fingertip mice, which I did a video already on this Apple Magic Mouse. So this is a fingertip one, where you're just using your fingertips to control it. This one's your palm type of mouse. There's ones that are literal whole hand type of mice, and then there's the ones that are kind of a mix. It rests a little bit between the palm and the fingertip. So there's that kind of build quality, and you can see just when I turn it around here, there's a few programmable buttons. So I'll just point out each one, starting with the top, and we'll also look at these later on in the settings. But the top one, when you get it out of the package, it's got your standard left click and right click. You can actually program the right click to do whatever you want. Your scroll wheel is pretty standard. Does light up, and you have the option to turn that on and off. And it's got a pretty good, I don't know if you can hear this. So it's not loud. It jumps really well. Like it doesn't have the loose infinity scrolling that you usually have. And you can also kind of see those little ridges on there. It gives it a little more texture. So good little scroll wheel there. It does have the button press if you press in the middle, and you can program that to be whatever it wants. These two are they advertise them on the box and whatnot as your sensitivity, quick sensitivity settings. So by default, I think you start out at like maybe 3000 DPI, and you can have different stages of settings that you can program to whatever you want, and these will increase or decrease the sensitivity. You can also program them to be really for whatever you want. So I've got mine actually as volume up and volume down. But if you're a gamer, this is going to be really useful for, especially first-person shooters where you might be switching between fast and slow mouse movement, if you're scoped or something. So these are really useful for, switching those DPI settings. On both sides, you have two buttons, front and the back, and you can program those however you want. I just disabled the left side for mine because I'm a left-handed user, so when I'm holding the mouse, I want to be able to just hit these two with my thumb and not worry about the other ones. I don't want to accidentally hit these. So, and I've just got mine set to copy and paste, but you can literally do them for whatever you want, macros or keyboard commands, click commands, really whatever you want them to. So all in all, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons that you can program to do whatever you want. The left click one is the only one that you can't, because that's really the most essential one on a mouse to get it to actually work. So that's kind of the top and the sides. Let's look at the bottom as well. So the bottom just has your Razer Taipan, Razer logo, all your serial number and everything. Right in the middle you do have your extra pad that kind of protects the laser, and this is a dual laser, so it's really sensitive, especially compared to an optical mouse. So your laser is going to be, it goes up to 8200 DPI, so you've got a lot of sensitivity leeway there, and depending on your preferences or game you're playing or whatever, you can really fine-tune it to be exactly what you need it to be. So in general, this mouse, it's really comfortable. I came from, let me grab it here. This is the mouse I used to use. It's a Logitech generic mouse. You can see it's a little bit smaller, but in general, this one, after a lot of use, it would hurt my hand, so I decided to go with a little bit bigger mouse that covers a little bit more of my palm, that I can rest my hand down, and working for several hours a day, this Razer one is definitely more comfortable. I've never had any hand cramps or anything. And it's also just really nice to have all the extra buttons. I do a lot of copying and pasting, so that's why I have the buttons on the side here, and it saves me a lot of time and headache to not have to worry about those. So we'll take a look at the software next and kind of get to know what the settings are for this mouse, how you can configure it. We'll look again at all the buttons and kind of just the interface in general for the Razer Synapse software.
The Razer Synapse program, and this is kind of where you manage all your Razer devices. So I've got two of them on the bottom here. Since we're looking at the Razer Taipan, we'll just kind of focus on that one. So the software in general, it's got all your settings and you can sync it. I've got my email up here, which is out of view. And you can sync those to other computers, which is really nice, because if you make the settings here and then go somewhere with a laptop or whatever, it'll still keep all the settings for you. What's nice about all the Razer devices is they have a lot of customizability as well. So you can see I've got a bunch of different buttons on here, and I can program each one. So I've got my middle two that I can program. Right now I've got them to volume up and down. my middle click, I've got it to being a shift and right click, and then you can configure your right click and all your other buttons as well. So here's the left side and the right side. So really handy for programming things that you want. You can do macros. You can set them to certain hotkeys or whatever. Just really whatever you want to have it do. So it's really nice, especially if you have the keyboard that matches. You can set it so maybe a certain hotkey changes the whole configuration depending on the game you're playing. So you can save all your settings in different profiles and have the ability to choose between those. If you're in a different game or maybe a 3D rendering program, you want a different mouse set or whatnot. So this is kind of the main screen. You'll customize all that on. Then you've got your next screen, which is all kind of the fine-tuning. So your sensitivity, I like it about right. This is kind of right in the middle, 3200. And you can see how quick it's going on this 4K screen. If you get it up to 8200, it's going to go really fast. Like, I'm barely moving the mouse and it's going all over the place. So you can get a lot of sensitivity on there. And it does kind of depend on your mouse pad, but this mouse in general just has a really high DPI capability. And then same thing with acceleration. I don't like acceleration. Some people do, so you can modify that as well. The polling rate is kind of interesting. It tells it how often it should be looking at the feedback from the mouse. So for example, if you had something that you wanted to be really sensitive and you had a gamepad or a mouse pad that could handle it, you might set it to a higher one, whereas maybe a different surface or maybe a different sensitivity setting, you might want it lower. So that just allows you to get even more granular on what you want. Also built in are sensitivity stages. You can basically, the default programming for those top buttons that I showed earlier configures how sensitive the mouse is, and you can just change it on the fly. So these are stages that you can set up for those two buttons if you choose to keep those buttons there. So you can just hit those and it'll switch between the stages that you've set up. I don't have any need for this. I just like having a constant mouse, so I programmed them to be my volume buttons instead. That's also a nice thing, especially for something like a first-person shooter where maybe you want to be really quick turning around, but maybe you're scoped and you want to make the sensitivity lower. So you might have another stage that you can just hit the button and it'll go to a lower one quickly. So this is kind of all your sensitivity settings. There are some other settings that we'll look at. So there's lighting. Lighting is just what I showed you. You can have the scroll wheel on and off and the logo on and off. Nothing too exciting there. And the logo, it's just always going to do the pulsing mode. You can't tell it to always be on, unfortunately. And then your last section is calibration. Calibration is mostly just for your mouse pad. If you have a Razer mat, it already has predefined settings. If you're calibrating some other mouse pad, like I think mine's a Steel Series, you can hit this and it'll tell you to just basically go back and forth all over the pad until you've covered the whole thing, and it calibrates like that. You could also adjust the range off the mouse pad. Maybe it's not reading it at a certain range. You can kind of play around with that as well. So those are kind of all the settings for the mouse. The rest of the program is fairly standard for really all Razer devices, so I won't go into it too much. But Razer Synapse, it does have kind of user settings. A newer feature they have is heat maps and statistics, so you can see that here. I haven't really played around with this heat maps too much though. Let me get back out of this. Another feature they have is doing macros however you want. So in these macros, you can do combinations of keys, mouse presses. It'll capture as many steps as you want. It'll capture, mouse up, mouse down, how long you've pressed it. There's a lot of things, like, for example, I had a volume up where I wanted it to a certain amount. So I would simulate hitting that certain amount and the time in between each. And this would do that whole thing for me. So really awesome to do these macros. Really useful in gameplay as well if you have actions that you want to repeat over and over again. Other than that, there's not too much interesting. You've got your settings, check for updates and whatnot. And again, it will sync to any computer. So if I change the mouse settings here, it's going to sync it to my laptop when I plug in the mouse to there. So really, really handy program. Kind of configures all your settings, and obviously it's going to be kind of your main tool for getting everything just right and getting all your settings right, especially if you're going in between games and whatnot.
Last thing I wanted to look at, we've taken a look at the mouse and the software. I just wanted to show you the packaging that this came in. So the light is a little bit brighter in this room. You can see it's just a standard stealth black box. It's got a little bit of green highlight all over, the standard bright green Razer color. And there is a little bit of chrome and shininess, so you can see the lights just reflecting off. Right here it's pretty shiny. Down here you've got your chrome lettering. And in general, here's the box size. So mouse on the box is just a little bit smaller than the actual mouse. So the box does show you all the basic information. Right here it says it's the 8200 DPI. It's a 4G laser. It is ambidextrous and very ergonomic. And then you kind of look on the side, it just gives more features on all this stuff. Mentions the software and more features on the back, obviously. Standard USB mouse, USB 2, will work with just about anything, and overall very comfortable, especially because you've got your rubberized grip and just a good plastic on there. And if we open this up, it does come in the package. It does show the mouse just right there, so if you're in the store and kind of comparing mice, it's nice to just open that up and see the mouse itself, and put your hand on it, see how it's kind of gonna feel. It also just gives you some more information on the background of Razer and on this mouse. So this is the Razer Taipan. Let me bring the mouse back for you. So Razer Taipan and ambidextrous gaming mouse. You can find this probably about $80 if you're lucky. Not sure exactly how much it is anymore. I think I got mine for $100. But overall, it's been a great mouse and very comfortable, very pleased with it. There's a lot of better mice out there, but for left-handed people, you just don't have the options that you're gonna have that right-handed people, I'm struggling today, right-handed people have for choices. I really wanted a Logitech mouse. There's a couple other ones that I really wanted, but they only came in right-handed. So if you are left-handed, you might find a good mouse that fits you. This one is an ambidextrous one, and it fits either hand really well. It's really comfortable, and I do recommend it, especially if you're left-handed or if you switch hands a lot. So that's the Razer Taipan, and hope you enjoyed this video.
Thanks for watching. If you liked our video, please subscribe. Don't forget to thumbs up the video as well as share with others that may find this video interesting. If you'd like to make a request, click the link below in the description, and also feel free to take a look at some of our other random product videos.